You wake up every morning with a weight already pressing on your chest. Before you even open your eyes, before you even check the time, there's a voice already whispering, "You're late. You're behind. Everyone else is further ahead." You scroll through your phone and see evidence everywhere. Someone younger got promoted, someone else bought a house, someone's traveling the world while you're still trying to figure out what you're doing with your life. The finish line keeps moving. The goalposts keep shifting. And no matter how fast you run, no matter how hard you work, you can never quite catch up. This feeling isn't occasional, it's constant. It's the background hum of your existence, the static noise that never quite goes away. You look at your friends and see milestones you haven't reached yet. You look at strangers on the internet and see lives that seem so much more complete, so much more together, so much more real than yours feels. You're always chasing something just out of reach. Success, stability, happiness, the sense that you've finally arrived. But arrival never comes. There's always another level, another achievement, another benchmark you haven't met yet. And here's the cruelest part, you're not actually behind. You've accomplished things, you've survived things, you've grown, you've learned, you've moved forward. But none of that registers, none of that counts, because the measuring stick you're using isn't based on reality, it's based on comparison. It's based on a story you've been telling yourself for so long that you can't remember when it started or why you believed it in the first place. This is the psychology of people who always feel behind. And if this is you, if you recognize yourself in these words, what follows isn't judgment. It's an invitation to understand where this pattern came from, what it's costing you, and how you might finally, gently, begin to let it go. The belief that you're always behind doesn't start in adulthood. It starts earlier, in the moments when you first learned that your worth was conditional. That love, approval, belonging, all of it depended on what you achieved, not who you were. Maybe you grew up in a household where nothing was ever quite good enough, where A's were expected and praised minimally, where accomplishments were acknowledged with a nod, and then immediately followed by, "What's next?" Maybe your parents meant well. Maybe they thought they were motivating you, pushing you toward excellence. But what you learned instead was that rest equals failure. That being satisfied with where you are means you're lazy, complacent,
Layered on top of this
unambitious.
is another concept. Temporal
perhaps your
comparison
childhood was
anxiety.
different.
This is the psychological
Perhaps you
phenomenon where
watched
you
a
constantly
sibling
measure your
excel
current self
while you
against an imagined timeline of where you should be.
Perhaps you were
You look at
constantly
peers who are
compared
married, who have
to
children,
cousins,
who have
to
careers.
neighbours, to the
And you
perfect
create a
child
mental
your
map of
parents wished
milestones
were.
you believe you should have already
Perhaps
reached.
you internalised the
Research
message
shows that
you
this
were the one who
anxiety
couldn't
isn't just
keep up,
emotional, it's
the one who was
cognitive.
always a step
When you
behind,
focus
the one who would
exclusively on
never
what hasn't
quite
happened yet,
measure up.
you develop what researchers
These
call
early
an imbalanced time
experiences
perspective,
create something
characterized by
psychologists
future-oriented
call
anxiety
a
and
scarcity
past-focused feelings of
mindset.
failure. Your brain
The belief
literally
that there's
stops
never
registering
enough.
progress because it's too
Not
busy
enough
cataloguing
success,
deficits.
not enough time,
Consider
not
it.
enough
She grew up,
proof
the
that
eldest
you're
daughter
worthy.
in an immigrant family.
This mindset
Her
operates
parents
from fear
sacrificed everything
rather
for her
than
to have
abundance.
opportunities they never
It
had.
tells you that if
And
you're
while
not
they never
constantly
explicitly said
moving
it,
forward,
she knew
you're falling
she had to
behind.
succeed.
That if
Not
you
just for
pause,
herself,
even for
but
a
for them,
moment, you'll
for the
lose
family.
ground you can never recover.
At 10 years old, she was
Layered on
already
top of
calculating
this
how
is
high her
another
grades needed to be, which
Temporal
extracurriculars would look
comparison
best on college
anxiety.
applications, what career would make
This
her
is a
parents
psychological
proud.
phenomenon where
By
you constantly
25,
measure
she
your
had the
current
degree,
self
the job,
against an
the
imagined
apartment.
timeline of
But
where
she didn't
you should
feel
be.
accomplished. She
You
felt
look at peers
exhausted
who are married,
because the moment she
who have
reached one
children,
milestone,
who have
she was
careers,
already looking at the
and you
next.
create a
Her
mental
colleagues
map
were
of
getting promotions
milestones you believe
faster.
you should have
Her
already
friends were
reached.
getting engaged. She was
Research
always
shows that this
perpetually
anxiety
behind.
isn't just
Then there's
emotional,
Marcus'
it's
story.
cognitive.
It's different but leads to
When
the
you
same
focus
place.
exclusively
He grew up watching
on
his
what
older
hasn't
brother excel at
happened yet,
everything
you
sports,
develop what
academics,
researchers
social
call
life.
an imbalanced
Marcus
time
was quieter,
perspective,
more introspective.
characterized by
He
future-oriented
needed more time to
anxiety
process,
and past
to think,
focused feelings
to
of
find his
failure.
path. But
Your
time
brain
was never
literally
given.
stops registering
Parents, well-meaning but
progress because it's
impatient,
too busy
constantly compared him to his brother.
cataloguing
Were,
Consider
why
Elaine.
can't you be more like
She
him?
grew up the eldest
And so
daughter
Marcus
in an
internalized it.
immigrant family.
I'm slow,
Her
I'm
parents
behind,
sacrificed
I'll never catch
everything
up.
for her to have
Now,
opportunities
at
they never
38,
had.
Marcus has a career
And
he
while they
enjoys,
never
hobbies he loves,
explicitly said
friends
it,
who care about
she
him.
knew.
But when he
She
sees
had to
former
succeed.
classmates posting about their achievements
just
on
for
social
herself,
media,
but
the
for
old
them,
wound reopens. He's
the
back to
family.
being the kid who couldn't keep
At
pace,
10
who
years
was
old,
always a
she
step
was
behind
already
his brother.
calculating
What's happening beneath
how
these
high her
stories is a
grades
fundamental
needed to be,
disconnection from the present
which
moment.
extracurriculars
Psychologists
would
have
look
found
best
that
on
people
college
who constantly
applications.
feel behind
What
operate from
career
what they
would make
call
her parents
unbalanced time
proud?
perspectives. Say,
By 25,
they
she
either
had the
anxiously
degree,
focused on
the
the future
job, the
or
apartment.
ruminating on past failures.
But she
They
didn't
rarely
feel
inhabit the now.
accomplished.
And
She
because
felt
they're never
exhausted.
present, they can't actually
Because
see
the
their
moment
progress.
she reached
They
one
can't acknowledge their
milestone, she
growth.
was already looking
Every
at the
accomplishment
next.
is immediately dismissed as
colleagues
not
were
enough
getting
because the
promotions
measuring stick has
faster.
already moved.
Her friends were getting engaged. She was always, perpetually behind. Then there's Marcus. His story is different but leads to the same place. He grew up watching his older brother excel at everything. Sports, academics, social life. Marcus was quieter, more introspective. He needed more time to process, to think, to find his path. But time was never given. His parents, well-meaning but impatient, constantly compared him to his brother. Why can't you be more like him? And so Marcus internalized it. I'm slow, I'm behind, I'll never catch up. Now, at 38, Marcus has a career he enjoys, hobbies he loves, friends who care about him. But when he sees former classmates posting about their achievements on social media, the old wound reopens. He's back to being the kid who couldn't keep pace, who was always a step behind his brother. What's happening beneath these stories is a fundamental disconnection from the present moment. Anxious psychologists have found that people who constantly feel behind operate from what they call unbalanced time perspectives. They're either anxiously focused on the future or ruminating on past failures. They rarely inhabit the now. And because they're never present, they can't actually see their progress. They can't acknowledge their growth. Every accomplishment is immediately dismissed as not enough because the measuring stick has already moved. This pattern becomes self-reinforcing. The more you feel behind, the more you compare. The more you compare, the worse you feel. The worse you feel, the less capable you become of recognizing your own worth. Social media amplifies this exponentially. Research shows that excessive social comparison, especially online, leads to increased anxiety, depression, and significantly lower self-esteem. You're not just comparing yourself to people you know, you're comparing yourself to curated, filtered, highlight reel versions of thousands of strangers' lives. And your brain treats every image, every post, every milestone announcement as evidence that you're falling short. The wound, ultimately, is this. You learn that who you are isn't enough, that your value is determined by external metrics, achievements, milestones, timelines, rather than your inherent humanity. And so you've spent years, maybe decades, running a race that has no finish line, chasing approval that will never satisfy, trying to prove something that was never yours to prove in the first place. You do this in your relationships. You compare your love life to everyone else's. You see engagement announcements and wonder why you're still single. You see couples celebrating anniversaries and wonder why your relationships always seem to end too soon. You see friends having babies and feel panic rising. Time is running out, you're behind the schedule, you're missing the window. And even if you're in a relationship, you can't enjoy it. You're too busy worrying about the next milestone. When will you move in together? When will you get engaged? When will you have kids? The relationship itself becomes another checkbox, another thing you're racing toward instead of actually experiencing. Your partner senses your distraction. They feel like they're not enough because the truth is nothing ever feels like enough. You wonder why intimacy feels so hard to sustain. You do this at work. You compare your career trajectory to everyone else's. You see promotions you didn't get, opportunities you didn't have. People younger than you in positions higher than yours. You work longer hours, take on more projects, say yes to everything because maybe if you just work hard enough, you'll finally catch up. But the goalposts keep moving. You get the promotion and immediately focus on the next one. You achieve the raise and immediately notice someone else making more. Burnout researchers have a name for this, resource depletion. You're constantly operating from a sense of threat that your resources, time, energy, achievement are scarce and slipping away. This creates chronic stress, emotional exhaustion, and eventually, complete depletion. You wonder why you feel so tired, despite technically succeeding. You do this with your self-worth. You measure your value against arbitrary timelines that you didn't even create. You believe you should have accomplished certain things by certain ages, owned a home by 30, had a stable career by 25, figured out your purpose by now. And when you don't meet these milestones that are largely cultural constructs, not universal truths, you internalize failure. You tell yourself you're lazy, you're incompetent, you're wasting your life. You scroll through social media and every post becomes evidence of your inadequacy. Someone's vacation photos mean you're not traveling enough. Someone's fitness journey means you're not disciplined enough. Someone's creative project means you're not productive enough. You wonder why your self-esteem crumbles so easily. You do this in your inner dialogue. The voice in your head isn't kind. It's critical, relentless, unforgiving. It catalogues everything you haven't done yet. It reminds you of every opportunity you missed, every choice you regret, every way you fell short. It doesn't celebrate progress. It only notices deficits. This constant self-criticism creates what psychologists call cognitive imbalance. Your brain becomes wired to notice negatives and dismiss positives. Even when good things happen, even when you accomplish something meaningful, the voice dismisses it. Yeah, but you should have done that years ago. Yeah, but other people have done more. You wonder why you can't enjoy your own victories. You do this in solitude. When you're finally alone, when the distractions stop and the noise quiets, you feel it fully. The panic, the inadequacy, the overwhelming sense that time is slipping through your fingers and you're wasting it. You lie awake at night running calculations. How many years you have left, what you still need to accomplish, whether it's even possible anymore. You feel grief for the life you thought you'd have by now. You feel shame for not being further ahead. You feel exhausted from the constant pressure to catch up. And beneath all of it, there's a quiet, devastating loneliness. Because when you're always focused on where you're supposed to be, you can't actually connect with where you are. You can't be present. You can't rest. You can't feel satisfied. You wonder why nothing ever feels like it's enough. The irony is crushing. You're working so hard, achieving so much, moving so fast, and yet you feel perpetually stuck, perpetually insufficient, perpetually behind. The very thing you're chasing, the feeling of arrival, the sense of being enough, becomes impossible to reach because the chase itself is the problem. As long as your worth is tied to external timelines and comparisons, you will never arrive. There will always be someone ahead. There will always be another milestone. There will always be proof that you're not doing enough. Limit time spent scrolling. Replace passive consumption with active creation. Things that ground you in your own life rather than other people's curated versions of theirs. The metaphor for this healing is learning to stop running on a treadmill. For years, you've been sprinting, convinced that if you just run faster, work harder, achieve more, you'll finally reach the destination. But a treadmill doesn't have a destination, it just keeps moving. The only way off is to stop, to step off, to stand still and realize that the ground beneath you, right here, right now, is solid. You don't need to earn your place on it, you're already here. Here is the truth that lives at the end of this. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are, and that is the only place you can be. Every choice you've made, every detour you've taken, every so-called delay has brought you to this moment. And this moment is not a deficit. It's not evidence of failure. It's your life, happening now, in real time, the only time that actually exists. The timelines you've been chasing, the milestones you've been measuring yourself against, they're illusions. Beautiful, seductive illusions, but illusions nonetheless. You were never in a race. You were only ever on a path, your path. And the only person who gets to decide if you're moving at the right pace is you, not society, not social media, not the voice that learned to criticize before it learned to celebrate. Just you. So what if you stopped measuring and started living? What if you stopped chasing and started arriving? Not at some future destination, but here, right here, where you've been all along, enough, whole, exactly on time.